This is a 2018 film written by Elizabeth Berger and Isaac Aptaker, who also wrote How I Met Your Father, Love Victor, which is a TV adaptation of this movie, and a few
Mhm.
episodes of This Is Us. So that's where we get that heartfelt, like sincere moments from. This is
Yes.
also this was also directed by Greg Berlanti, who is a big time producer of shows like Superman and Lois, Riverdale, and The Flash. My goodness, Mercedes,
Yeah.
a lot to unpack with this movie.
Yeah, and it's also based on a novel called Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda by Becky
Mhm,
Albertalli.
mhm.
And I love any good adaptation. So then I love that it was adapted into a TV show too. Oh, Love Victor looks so good. I need to watch it.
Exactly, me too, gotta add to my watch list. So, I think, a moment that we all can agree was a beautiful scene is the scene between Jennifer Gardner and Simon after he comes out.
Yes.
So, Jennifer Garner's exhale speech wasn't actually originally written into the film. Jennifer asked for a scene where she just really connects with Simon, and her and the director worked together to comprise the scene, and it's just such a I oh my god, Mercedes,
It's
I
my favorite
cried.
scene. Oh,
It's
I
such
sobbed during that scene. I really do love it.
I feel like on also too there's something really beautiful about this scene reminded me so much of the scene between, the dad and Timothy Chalamet's character in Call Me by Your Name at the
Yes.
end.
Yeah.
Just, like, when parents are accepting and just, like, the honestness and the realness that comes out from it, I keep crying. Every time one of these scenes happens, I keep crying.
Yeah. And it feels like, acceptance is just like the bare minimum, but they go above with these little monologues and conversations they have where
Mhm,
it's like so much just like unconditional support.
mhm.
And that is so beautiful to see.
It really is. It really is.
Yes. And this was the first major studio film about a gay teenage romance. And its success has played a large role in why so many more queer romances are being turned into films by larger studios now. And it's so exciting to see. I know like so many have been coming out in the last, like, since 2020 onward. So just in the last couple years and on so many streaming sites. So there's an
Yeah.
abundance now.
Exactly. So I actually read that Shawn Mendes, of all people, was invited to audition for the role of Simon. Could you imagine how different this movie would have been if Shawn Mendes was in it?
I mean, I've always thought that him and Nick Robinson look similar, and I didn't know if it was just because they're, like, 2 white boys or, like, you know? But, like, I always thought they looked kinda similar,
Yeah,
and
but
Shawn Mendes is such a sweetheart too. Oh my gosh.
yeah, but I just feel like, I don't know, Nick Robinson gives me high school vibes more than Shawn Mendes does. I think it's the tattoos, maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know.
because Shawn Mendes was on Vine, he wasn't in high school.
Yeah. Do you remember where you were the first time that you watched this movie?
Yes, I watched it in theaters when it came out.
Okay.
I it came out my last semester of undergrad ever. So
Mhm.
I was in the middle of writing my undergrad thesis about rom-coms at the time, and I was so stoked for this movie because what I was writing about was really different rom-coms, like the top grossing rom-coms in different decades
Mhm.
and how what they speak to, like, the time that they were made, but also how consistently white and straight and cis they were. So
Mhm.
in my conclusion, I got to talk about this movie and, like, different new rom-coms and, like, I call it the rom-com renaissance of, like, the late 2010s, early 2020s of
Mhm.
now that we're seeing so much more diversity on screen and also behind the camera. Like, you can't have these stories be told without diversity in the writer's room and like just behind the camera. So I don't know. I think it's really exciting. And so every time I think of this movie, I think of my thesis and like that time of life. It's so sweet.
Yeah. As someone who works in the entertainment industry and has been for the past 8 years, I think something that bothers me about Hollywood is that they refuse to do it until they see that it works. And it's
Yeah.
like, you can't know if it works unless you try it. And so many people are scared to try it. And that's why it's so important that we have people in power, like people who are in control, to give these smaller creators or these people who have unique out of the box ideas a chance because it can work. People are dying for something fresh and new and authentic. And that's exactly what this movie is. And I just wish, more people had the opportunity to showcase their unique thing, you know?
Yes.
Um,
Ah,
and
retweet.
you know what's really sad is this movie only came out 4 years ago, and I still
Yeah.
have no idea where I was. I think
Okay. Well, you were in LA.
I was in LA, yes, you're 100% correct. I think I saw this movie because at the time I was working at the network Stars, and we used to have these meetings where we would discuss what we were watching. And I think one of the execs or one of the other assistants watched this and loved it and spoke about it in the meeting. And I think I saw it on a streaming platform. But that's a huge maybe. I literally cannot remember, but I have seen this movie before this last time I just watched it. So um it's a lot.
Yeah.
What else were you doing that year?
Okay, so like I said, I was a senior in college. I was 22. This was my last semester, so I was really just like trying to get through it, finish my thesis,
Mhm.
find the motivation to finish that thing. And I was also deciding on a grad program. So when this came out, I was deciding between a school in New York, a school in
Mhm.
LA, and a school in London. And I was like, well, I have family in LA. I've been to London a lot. Let me go somewhere I've never been. And that's how I
Yeah.
decided NYU, so this happened at the same time.
I love
So,
that.
it was an exciting time for Mercedes.
Mhm. You know, something I really love about this movie is the beautiful friendships cultivated between, like, the friend group, right? All 4 of them.
Yeah.
And, 2018 was an interesting year for me for friends because that was the year that I decided to choose myself. So, that year I had a crush on a person who used to be my friend, his name was Matt, and I was just, like, so in love with him. I remember I got, slightly intoxicated at a bar one time and, like, fell asleep on him, and he put his arm around me, and, like, my friend just happened to take a picture. This happened twice, right? And my friend just happened to take a picture, and I would just look at those pictures all the time because I thought we looked so cute together. And just looking back, I have no idea why I liked him so much because he just treated me so poorly, so
Ooh,
poorly. I remember I went out with him and another guy friend of ours, and it was like 2 AM. And I turn around for a second, I don't remember what I was doing, I turn around, and when I turn back around towards them, they are both running into an Uber, like, literally sprinting, and they jump into an Uber and they drive off. This was
yeah.
2 AM in Venice, and I was just like they literally just left me in the middle, like, no one was out, no one was there. It's Venice, which means there's a lot of, like, unhoused people, and it wasn't very safe, and they didn't even text me to see if I got home safe or anything, and, like, I remember he, like, did not say happy birthday to me, because he was like, "If everyone's saying it's not as special." And I was like, "What the"
What?
and it was so annoying too because for his birthday, I would go all out. I'd get him balloons, I got him, like, this giant cupcake and all of this stuff, and it was just so ridiculous, and that was the time where I was like, because he was part of a bigger friend group that I was part of, so I saw him all the time, and that was the time I
Yeah.
was like, "You know what? I don't need someone like this in my life. I am going to separate myself." And in kind of like that started the crumble of like me losing that entire friend group, but it honestly was for the best because I really don't
Yeah.
need people like that in my life. But I just wanted to say that because like I said, Nick has such loving and supportive friends in this movie, and I just want to give listeners, anyone who's struggling with friendships right now, like choose yourself. Honestly, you need to choose yourself because in then you will attract people who will also choose you as well and be there and support you and love you. And those are the type of friends that we need in our lives.
Yeah, and make you feel good.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
what an
Exactly.
annoying guy. Oh.
He's the worst. He's the worst. All right, guys, it's time for the Rom-Com Hall of Fame. But
Yeah.
of course, Mercedes, we have to roast this movie as much as we love it. We have to roast it. And I'm curious, I want to hear your thoughts.
I have some thoughts.
You have some thoughts. I'd be surprised if you didn't.
I will start off. Obviously, the homophobic jokes from the students at school were just so disgusting and
Yep.
vile. And also, the blackmailing that Martin does is so truly horrible. And he is just such a terrible person and so annoying. And to out someone is just not only like a terrible thing to do, but also just like an act of violence.
Yeah.
And he didn't face any consequences for doing something so harmful and so cruel. And luckily, like, this film has a very, like, precious ending because that whole thing could have gone completely in so many different directions,
Yeah.
and that's just so upsetting. And also, Simon's friends bother me. I don't know if you got this way too, but, like, if you felt this way, but, like, they use his incredibly traumatic experience of being outed, and turn it on, like, how it affected them. And I understand he lied, and it was like, what he did wasn't good either, but I just didn't like how selfish, they were, and also they were just kind of annoying from the beginning. I did not vibe with them.
I get that, I get that. You know, this is actually kind of gonna be a interesting roast for me, and I'm curious
Mhm.
if you agree or if any of our listeners agree. So I actually think his family dynamic, while it was really nice and loving, was just so unrealistic. Like the popular jock who marries the cheerleader, the prom queen, or whatever she was, and then
Mhm.
they didn't peak in high school, like that whole thing. We also just I feel like it was toxic because we know how hard it is to come out for people. And it just made it seem like if your family has to be perfect and so loving and so caring for you to come out and receive that type of love and support that he did. And I guess I just don't want other people seeing this unrealistic family setup and feeling like they can't come out because their families aren't like that. Like their family isn't reflective of who they were. Like also too, I feel like family is a very sore subject for me if you can't tell. And
Mhm.
so I just felt like it kind of portrayed this unrealistic like this is how it has to be in order for you to receive the same response that he did from his parents. And a lot of
Yeah,
families aren't like that.
I totally agree with you, and I think a huge part of this movie that I think the flaws come from is that it tried to be so general in the
Mhm.
story. Like, we don't really know anything about Simon, and I think that's intentional
Hmm.
because then it appeals to a general audience, which also includes a straight audience. And I
Mhm.
think his family is also supposed to be this very general, like, hashtag all American type of family, but actually what that means is white and rich.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, like a very nuclear family.
Mhm.
And this, I don't know. I've read a lot of comments saying that this is a gay romance for made almost for a straight viewer
Mm.
in the way that we don't know a lot about him and his personality. We see him struggle a lot, and we learn about his friendships and his family, but not necessarily about him beyond his sexuality.
Mm.
Simon is an observer this whole movie, and his sexuality becomes his entire character arc. Like, what else do we know about him? We know he likes, like, indie music,
Mhm.
and we know he has, like, good friends and supportive family. And, like, he's in a musical, but we don't know, like, if he enjoys that, like, we don't know, like, any of his other likes or dislikes, and I don't know, it just seems like I know all of his friends way better than I know him,
Mm.
and I think that goes to what you were saying of just, like, it feels really unrealistic, and I don't know if they kept this, like, very generalized story.
Mhm.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Yeah, no, I
it
feel
feels
like
like something's missing.
yeah, it feels like honestly this is Hollywood's attempt at making like a gay rom-com, right?
Yeah,
Like they have to start off with having this rom-com that has two gay leads, but they have to make it for a straight audience. And I
yes,
feel like since this was the very first time this was ever done, they took this approach to kind of be more careful and cover their asses essentially at the end of the day.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like you could see that just as someone who's worked in development for so long, like, that's the approach that they had to take. They could not just go from nothing to completely left field, with the storyline. So, I guess I get it from, like, a development standpoint, but also too, I do feel like we are getting those stories where we learn more about the characters and we learn more about the people, like I mean,
totally.
I will keep referring to Call Me by Your Name because it's what like, Luca Guadagnino is one of my favorite directors, and
It's
this
such a
is it's
beautiful movie.
such a beautiful movie, but I feel like you do learn more about, the characters in there, and so this just needed to be unfortunately, this had to kinda be like the sacrificial lamb of the gay rom-com genre, right?
Yeah, this definitely was, like, the stepping stone,
Mhm.
and I that's another thing that I kind of wish I got to see more of Simon's joy. Like, I wish I got to see him more happily in love. And I
Yeah.
know that you love a love story where you get to see the couple together. I wanted that so badly because so much of this movie is almost anxiety inducing because you're like, I'm holding the secret with you through this whole movie. And I want you to like be able to like talk and like be yourself and like be in love.
Yeah.
And that's like so stressful because you just see him struggle so much and stress about this and dwell on it. Like it takes over his whole life.
Yeah.
And I just would love to see him just, like, happy and, like, himself more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hear you. And speaking of secrets, Mercedes, I'm curious, have you ever had a time where you were just terrified to tell someone something because of how they would perceive you?
I don't know, like, nothing big. I I don't know, I never think I have secrets, but then everyone tells me I'm a very private person. So I'm like, I feel like I'm sharing so much with everyone, and then other people are like, "No, you don't tell us anything." And I'm like, "What am I not?" I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah. I feel like, um dating has always been very hard for me because I'm still a virgin, and a lot of guys perceive that as a red flag. And I
Mhm.
remember back in 2017, I went on 3 dates with this guy, which was, like, the most I've ever gone on dates with anyone ever. And we got on the topic of, like, past relationships and things like that, and I was just terrified because I knew, Mercedes, I knew we were never gonna see each other again after I told him
Yeah.
I was still a virgin, and I did, and never saw him again. And it's just always kind of been it was always something I was scared to talk about, and then I just thought it was so stupid because I was like, "How are you going to judge my entire personality and my entire being based off of how many people I have or have not had
Yeah.
sex?" And so I actually started speaking out about it a lot more, and it's become, like, part of my identity, but also something that, like, I'm not embarrassed by, I'm not shy about anymore, and I've
Mhm.
actually encouraged other people to start talking about, how it feels to be a late bloomer, to still be older and a virgin, things like that, and so that was a really big thing for me, that I was always scared to tell guys because I knew, like, history kept repeating itself, like, I would never see this person again if they found out.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hate these people. It's also, like, none of their business what you do with your body anytime ever, you know? And it's like, "Oh, yeah, you should be so lucky to know what who I am and this part of me." Like, are you serious? Oh my god, that bugs me so much because obviously, like, none of these things are anyone else's business.
Mm.
If people, don't wanna share it with them. That frustrates me so
Yeah.
much. Oh my god. And I, like, love how you've claimed it, and you do. You voice it, and you put it out there, and you own it as something that you take a lot of pride in, and that makes me really I'm so impressed by that, and I love that.
Thank you, thank you. It's been a long time coming, and I just hope anyone else who is struggling with, something that they're scared to share with people, I hope that they find that inner strength in them, because it is there. It is 100% there. I
Yes.
think Mercedes, we have the same scene that we love,
Yeah.
like a quote from, right? So that whole exhale scene from Jennifer Garner is amazing, and I think two moments that really stuck out to me from that monologue was when she says, "Being gay is your thing, and there are parts of it you have to go through alone." Like, that was really something, and I also felt like when she said, "You get to exhale now, Simon. You get to be more you than you ever have been in a very long time." And
Yeah.
I love that.
I cry so much during this scene anytime I watch this movie, and I've seen it a few times, and it's such a loving moment.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad Jennifer Garner was like, "No, we need a scene like this," because it's so true, and
Yes.
honestly, she feels like the perfect, like, white mom to put in a movie like this. I don't know, she's I was like, "Yes, like, you are
Mhm.
so sweet and wholesome, and, like, you're great in this role."
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, it just feel like this whole her whole monologue just feels like a hug.
Mhm.
And I think it's also, like, a great play I don't know, a great thing for allies to watch, like
Mhm.
us, and just, like, yeah, that's how you give space, and that's how you show support and love.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, question of the day, if this popped up on your Tinder feed, would you swipe left or would you swipe right?
I swipe right. I mean, this movie tells the sweetest story, and I kind of describe it as a coming of age queer You've Got Mail with a Sleepless in Seattle-esque ending. And,
Yeah.
I love that. I love the whole idea of bonding over chat and email, and because it's like little love letters. And
Yeah.
then, like, the whole meet me on the Ferris wheel. Oh my gosh. I
I
was like,
know.
this is how you get me with those tropes. And I
Yep.
just think it's like we've said, it's done a lot for showing how successful and necessary these stories are, and
Mhm.
how important it is for major studios to produce them, and how that so they can be easily distributed and more accessible to wider audiences. Because it's not like these stories weren't being told. It's just that
Mhm.
indie films don't really have the budget to distribute widely to people, so a lot of people don't see them.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's important, and now I'm so happy that they're on so many streaming sites, and it's such a good stepping stone for Hollywood to like because Hollywood desperately needs more queer voices in the
Mhm.
mainstream, you know?
Yep.
And it's definitely made its impact in the last few years because now we've seen on multiple streaming sites, we've seen so many, like half of it Crush on Hulu. Anyone watch Crush? Fire Island comes out today while we're recording, and the
Yay!
upcoming Billy Porter movie, Anything is Possible, that trailer just dropped yesterday, and I'm so excited for it. It has a
Wow.
black trans teenage girl lead, and I am just so excited for, like, all of these new stories to come because I just love watching people fall in love.
Yeah. All people. It's nice watching all people fall in love.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. I'd swipe right. I'd swipe this movie is just incredibly heartfelt, and I find it really difficult not to cry through some parts, like, the scene with Nick and his dad. I cried. It was so good. I loved it.
and the Grindr comment, "We can
Yeah.
make a Grindr account together," and he's like, "This is Facebook for gay people." They're like, "Sir."
That's not what it
Yeah.
is. All right, guys, welcome to Couples Therapy, Mercedes, and I just like to give advice for the couples on how they can improve their relationship. And I just, exactly what we were saying before. I really hope Simon takes his mother's advice and just exhales. And remember that it's okay to breathe now. I feel like when you have been holding on to something for so long, your breathing patterns irregulate because you've just been holding your breath for so long. So I just hope he remembers to breathe in and out. That's all I hope for Simon.
Oh, so poetic, Kendra. Oh, beautiful. I say Simon he learns a lot through this journey, but I think the main thing he needs to focus on is honesty with
Mhm.
himself and the people in his life that he cares about. I think that was his main trip up through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And he learns a lot through this whole journey, and it's so nice to see.
What do you think his love language is?
I think it's words of affirmation. Hello, they fall in love through email. This is You've Got Mail for Teens.
I love that. Yeah, I would say he received words of affirmation through Blue, but from his
Yeah.
friends, it's definitely quality time. Like his
Yeah.
friendships are really special, and you can tell when they're together how they're all so genuine and happy. And so I
Mhm.
think it's a combination of both for me. Um, so of course, Mercedes, we gotta ask ourselves, do you think this couple lasts in 5 years?
Of course not. This is a sweet high school love story, and we can leave it at that because you know what? That grand gesture at the end will make
Mhm.
such a good story for the rest of your life. You don't
Yep.
need this relationship for the rest of your life. You can have the story.
100%. Yeah, I agree. No, I think it's really hard to stay with the first person you meet after something like coming out. And I feel like that coupled with the fact that it's high school, they're both going to be very different people, but I do hope that they can remain friends at least. They share a unique and special experience of like both coming out at the same time to the world and with each other. So, I hope that they remain friends and they remain staples in each other's lives.
Yes.
All right, Mercedes, heartthrob. Tell me who you would take home to meet your friends and family.
I would take Bram because slash Blue.
Yeah.
He is just like through his emails, you can tell he's so sweet and kind. And even in
Mhm.
person, I wish we got to see more of him on screen with Simon.
Yeah.
Because when they're playing like beer pong at the party and just like hanging out, like he's just so kind and he
Mhm.
just seems so great. And on the Ferris wheel, when he's like, "Are you disappointed it's me?" That like crushes my little heart because I was like, "Oh, that's so teenager." Like, "Please like me," type of thing. It's like, oh, and I'm like, "Oh," it just melts my heart.
He is very cute. He is very cute. Okay. I always like to throw a hammer in the wrench here. I'm gonna say
Oh god.
Mr. Worth, the principal, because because I just have such a big love for Tony Hale, the actor
Yeah,
who plays
it's
him.
hilarious.
A movie I fell in love with him through is this rom-com actually that we should it's super indie. I'm pretty sure a lot of people haven't heard of it, but it's called Happy Thank You More Please.
Add it
And
to the list.
everyone needs to watch that movie, but this man has a very special place in my heart because of, like, his he has this kind of big, like, declaration of love scene in the movie, and it is so beautiful. It is to end all declaration of love scenes in every single movie. Like, it's just so beautiful.
Oh
So,
my goodness, I need to watch because I've
yeah.
only ever seen him in Veep and Arrested Development, which are very different types of
Yeah.
characters.
He has more of a leading role in this movie, which is nice, and, like, I loved his give as much screen time to Tony Hale as possible, Hollywood, please. He's a good one, he's a good one. Alright, Mary Smooch goes, Mercedes. Okay, we have Simon, Bram, and Martin. Who would you marry? Who would you smooch? And who would you ghost?
Okay. I think I would marry Bram. I would smooch Simon, and I would ghost Martin because he sucks. I was like, "Why didn't they just write this character out?
Yep.
We don't need him. I
Of
hate him."
course. He's so but it's so funny too because, like, I remember in high school, so many freaking theater kids were like him. Like, I was a theater kid, and so
Yeah.
many theater kids were like him just in terms of their personality and, like, stop like, wearing shirts that people need to read. Like, I love
It's like, unfortunately, we all know someone like this kid,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's the saddest truth.
exactly. I think I would I think I would marry Simon, I would smooch Bram, and I'd ghost Martin. We're good.
Yeah.
Everyone should ghost Martin, by the way, that's the only correct answer in this scenario.
Literally.
He's the worst, he's the
Ghost him
worst.
from the movie.
Before we wrap it up, listeners, we always love to bring in a pop culture moment, and I just have to say, Josh Duhamel is how you age when you are unproblematic. That man is, like, almost 50 years old and just a freaking silver fox. Like, beautiful,
So
beautiful, beautiful.
beautiful.
I think I've been watching him since I used to watch him in the show, like, Las Vegas, and that was, like, back in, 2004. I've been watching him
How were you watching Las Vegas? Weren't you, like, 10?
Oh, I used to watch soap operas. I used to watch a lot of I was a very precocious child. I used to watch a lot of things that were way out of my age range. I would rush home every day to watch Passions and Days of Our Lives. Those are, like, my 2 soap
Oh
operas,
my
like,
god.
every day.
You're
Love
like my nana.
them. Yes, 100% I am.
Oh my gosh. So my pop culture little tidbit is I mentioned this earlier, but if you want another teen queer romance, if you want a double feature with Love Simon, then definitely check out Crush on Hulu. It came out, I'm pretty sure April, maybe March.
Mhm.
And it is such a fun watch. And I'm so excited for the day we get to discuss that movie. It is awesome. And yeah, it's just this would be such a good double feature because I think it does, like, so many things right that we kind of had a little bit of criticisms about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, adding it to the watch list. Again, super overwhelmed with all of the things I have to watch, but I'm gonna
So
try.
many things.
I'm gonna try. I'm literally just not gonna go out for, like, the next month and just sit and watch everything. The listeners, we wanna know what your thoughts are. What did you think of Love, Simon? Did you feel like his family dynamic was realistic or unrealistic? Do you have a super tight-knit friend group like he did? Make sure to slide into our DMs at Meet Cute. Again, I'm Kendra. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Ken10Hollywood.
Yes, and I've been Mercedes. You can find me at MercedesGV11 on Twitter, IG, and TikTok. And if you're looking for new rom-coms, follow Meet Cute wherever you listen to podcasts and follow Meet Cute on socials everywhere. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you next week.